next up, we've got Satu from Saga Performance, who's going to be talking about getting the best out of your team without burning them out. It's really kind of like an evolution from the chat that we've just had. So, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Where are you based at the moment?
In Stockholm, Sweden.
Oh, fantastic. How's the weather over there?
It's 22, 23 degrees, so
much
sunshine.
Nicer than here. So
All
much
right.
nicer than here. So, yeah.
Okay, we're lucky.
That's really good then. Oh, well, fantastic. I love Sweden. So, yeah. Hopefully you're doing all right there. But in the interest of time, I'm going to let you get on. But as I say to everyone, just while you're setting yourself up, to everyone in the audience, make sure you throw your questions into the Q&A section, because at the end I'll be coming back and I'll be putting some of the questions from the audience to you.
Awesome, thank you.
Looks all good to me, so I'll leave you to it.
Perfect. So then I guess everyone can see the presentation.
Yeah,
and
we've got it there.
Let's get to it. So my name is Satu Ahlman, and I'm the founder of Saga Performance. What we do, we work with performance and leadership. We work with data and science and behavior modifications with corporates and private clients. And today my topic is to talk to you about getting the best out of your team without burning them out. A very important topic, especially in these times when everyone's working virtually, most of the people at least, and also a very important topic close to my heart. A little bit about my background. I've always been working with people one way or the other. So when I was a CEO of a company, obviously the responsibility was both business and the people and the culture. And I've been working with leadership development, consulting, management consulting, and helping companies and individuals get the best out of themselves. And I've done quite an international career. Originally, I'm from Finland, but right now I live in Sweden. And in the past, I've lived in the Middle East, in the United Arab Emirates a few times, and traveled a lot because of work. And I've seen a lot of different types of teams, companies, and leadership styles as well. And during those years that I was traveling as a consultant, I was always asking, like, what more can I do to help these people and myself as well? And then later on, when Saga Performance was founded, I realized that this is it, redesigning high performance. This is what my passion is all about, and combining the fact that we have a lot of data out there nowadays, a lot of tools, technology and science, combining that with behavior modifications, putting all my skills and my background together. And I studied to become an epigenetics performance coach. So I'm able to help my clients to actually look into their genetic blueprint and help them optimize their lives and performance through that. But I also use data from heart rate variability through first beat lifestyle assessments, for instance. And that is a topic that today I'm also going to be talking a little bit more about, how that can help companies and teams to really manage stress levels and understand the risks, and hopefully also prevent any risks of burnouts and people getting tired because of high performance. Let's get to it. Really, what is the foundation of our approach? A systems approach to life and performance. A systems approach to human development and performance, focusing on science-based analysis, and through that enabling behavior change and behavior modifications. And what is a systems approach according to us? Well, your performance, your life is the center, but it's sort of like a puzzle. You're built as from pieces of puzzle. And these pieces you can see in front of you on the presentation right now, everything starting from your genetic blueprint to what is the environment that you live in and where you work, the office, the nature. Also considering the fact that how sleep affects your performance, how the foods that you eat, the training that you do, the physical exercise, how that affects your life and lifestyle and wellness and performance and health. And also very importantly, the things on the left side, stress, attitude, and behavior. The more stress, the more difficult it is for us to also handle and manage our own attitude. Actually, yes, you can still always choose. You have the keys in your hand. You can choose your attitude every single morning and in every single situation. It just becomes more difficult when you're under stress. And then your attitude also starts to modify and show in your behavior, which is also a factor for many team leaders and leadership, people in leadership roles and managerial roles, to be able to sense those behaviors around you in your team to prevent stress taking over, the negative stress taking over. So as I mentioned, the vision, the purpose for Saga Performance existence is redesigning high performance. That has started already long before, actually, in my head, before Saga Performance was founded. I was asking, why are these high performance cultures failing? And high performance as a topic has been quite trendy and popular, let's say, past 15 years. Throughout my career, when I was doing management consultancy, I met a lot of people from IT, from tech firms, from professional service firms, big fours. And what did all these people and corporates have in common? They were filled with high performing individuals, and their cultures were, whether it was already written on the wall as this is our culture, we are a high performance team, that you could really sense and feel it. Everyone was proud of being that. But then later on, when years got by, you would start seeing more and more people getting sick and tired of that. So sort of the high performance culture was backfiring, because people were doing so much and delivering so much that they didn't know what else they could do except for perform, perform, perform. And you know what happens when you just perform. You can't cope anymore because you get so tired of it at some point, even the best top performers, unless you know how to balance it. And if you have a culture that boosts this kind of high performance, perform, 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 you might have a really tough time saying, okay, I need to pull the brake. How to enable performance. So let's look at this from a more big picture overview before we deep dive into the topic. In a company or in a team, usually what we have is a vision. We have this where we want to go, who we want to be. And to be able to reach that, we need action. We need every single person in the team or in the company to be productive, efficient, and deliver. We want action, as you can see on the picture. So how do we enable performance, action, and results? What is really needed? What are the building bricks? And the building bricks are in the middle. We start from, we need to have a strategy that works. We need to have the strategy that it becomes the roadmap that takes us towards the vision. We also need to have the tools for the people and the processes for the people to be able to perform. We need to have the skills. The people need to have the right skill sets to be able to perform and to create action. And in the middle, we have culture. And I would say that is probably the most significant part, also where people and companies fail. Because it is, in a way, easier to create a fully functioning strategy and also make sure that we have the right skill sets, but we might not have the willingness and the values and the culture. So on an individual level, what I mean with this is that every single person who comes to work every morning needs to be able to answer these questions. Do I understand why I'm going to work? Do I have the right skills and the right processes and tools to support my work? Do I understand what my contribution is? So there we have meaning and ability. And then still the question remains, do I actually want to do the job? And if we look into millennials and younger generations after millennials, what's going to be important for them and what is important for them it's not necessarily the monetary gains. It's more about the culture, a sustainable culture that is matching your values. And if the culture is not matching your values, I might lose my interest or lose my motivation and look for another company to work for. And also, how does the company take care of me as an individual? How sure can I be and secure can I be that when times are tough, that I'm taken care of? Like if a stressful period happens in my life, whether it is in business or in the work or in my personal life, how will the company support me? All these kind of questions need to be answered in my head, so that I can feel like, okay, I'm very committed. I understand the meaning, willingness, and the ability. Everything is checking the box. Then we can expect full 100% performance and action. One of the biggest causes of, well, people leaving or sick leaves happening, burnouts, obviously, it's stress. Well, we also need stress. So a lot of times I hear like stress is negative. We need to get rid of stress. Well, that's not really true. For us to thrive, for us to create results, for us to be happy, for our hormones to work in the way they should, we need stress in our lives. You maybe heard about cortisol. People call it the stress hormone. And yes, cortisol's role is to wake us up in the morning and start our bodies and minds to get them to function. And if we don't have that, if we have too little of the stress hormone, we're not going to be able to function. So yes, we need stress in our lives. We just don't want stress to take over. The nervous system that we have the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic being the fight flight zone where we can experience the negative stress. If that takes over and we don't switch between the parasympathetic, which is the rest and digest mode, often enough, then yes, there's a big risk we are eventually going to burn ourselves out. And we're not going to be able to cope. Our immune system is going to be lowered or more fragile because of the stress. We need to be able to lead stress, not only manage, but lead stress. And this is for corporates very important. For team managers, you need to be able to sense stress, but you need to also be able to do the work before stress, the negative stress takes over. So you need to be able to create cultures and processes that enable balanced stress. Because what we want to have is full capacity. We want to have people performing and even performing on the highest possible level. And we want them to recover. And recovery often sounds like, okay, I recover when I'm sleeping. Yes, that is a very important part, but all recovery in a high performer's life cannot happen just during the night, especially if it's a short night. And the normal person would be sleeping around 7.5, 8 hours. And is that sufficient if that's the only recovery, even if it's good quality sleep? No, it's unfortunately not. So your job as a manager and also your own responsibility as an individual is to find out how can you recover during the day so that you can maximize your capacity and have a sustainable high performance. One way of working with this, with our corporate clients, for instance, is to really start using data to be one step ahead. So what we do is we combine technology and data sources, for instance, with the First Beat lifestyle assessments that I just mentioned, where we use actual heart rate monitoring devices to detect heart rate variability, to detect those switches between the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems, tracking those stress levels and recovery day in, day out for a certain period of time. so that we can understand both on individual and team and company level, how are people actually feeling and doing? And we can also then detect maybe that we have certain teams that are not recovering, or we have a office in the city of whatever city it could be, Stockholm, London, wherever, if we have multiple offices, that we see that, okay, this specific city, they're much more stressed than the others. Okay, then we start understanding, okay, there must be a reason. And what could that reason be? How can we handle it before things get serious? So we need to be on top of things. And the aim is to create resilient, high performance cultures. Resilient meaning that we want people to be able to go through stressful periods and recover from them, so it won't hurt them. A little bit more about the lifestyle assessments, because I found that this is probably the best tool for companies and for teams to really get an overview of how people are both managing the stress, but also recovering. And one part of this assessment is also the physical, the movement part, because we know by now, the science tells us that the more we move, whether it is training, exercising at the gym, or just moving during the day, the more we actually can recover and the more we can boost our brains. So we have 3 parts in this assessment that we do. And it is a device that you put attached to your body underneath your clothes for 3 to 5 days. And you use it day in and during the night as well. And we get really nice, deep analysis of all these areas. And then we can use them on an anonymous level also to look into teams, to look into the entire company. And then based on that data, we can make concrete plans on how to further develop and further maybe make some modifications in the way we lead, the way we manage, and the way people are taken care of, the way we handle wellness activities, for instance. One area that is, of course, employers' responsibility is the office environment. For now, I know that most of us are working virtually from home, but eventually we will go back to the offices as well. And whether you are working at home or at the office, the same things actually apply. But what we want to achieve is an environment that protects us and boosts our brains. And protecting, what do I mean with that, is really protecting your brain and your capacity so that you can feel safe, that I won't cross my limits unless I want to, but the environment is there to safeguard my performance, that I won't get sick because of the office air or the office lighting, or that it becomes so stressful for me with all the noises and everything that I can't cope. They might sound funny when you start listing them like this, but they're really important, that there's a lot of science going on around these topics and research. What we're doing, also us, what we're testing with our clients, for instance, the air quality being one of the topics. We've been combining in collaboration with a company called Nava, who are producing these kind of AI-driven green walls for offices, and hopefully later on also for individual clients, for private homes. But their idea is that you create more pure air, and that has a direct impact on your cognitive capacity and how you feel, but also, of course, your body's functions, your immune system. So a lot of benefits that you can have for your office environment. And what we did together with Nava, we actually did this kind of first beat assessments and to see how the body reacts in stress when there are people sitting in these kind of rooms with Nava green walls and when people are working somewhere else. And we could really see, this is not a major study, so we can't really say that this applies and it's only because of Nava walls, but what we could see was really nice results with people having better recovery and lower heart rates when they were in an environment where they felt calm and were probably able to breathe better as well. Another part is lighting in offices, and also the light that you get from the screens that you're looking at right now and the screens on your mobile phones. Light, when it's too much and especially too late in the evening, can have a very harmful effect, not only to your eyesight, but also to your hormones, sleep hormones, melatonin, for instance. Melatonin has other functions as well, not just the sleep hormone. But if your melatonin function is not optimal because you're staring at blue light the entire day and even in the evening at your home, that's not good. And what can you do as a company, as a team leader, as a manager? Well, there are multiple ways of adjusting the office lighting. Philips, for instance, has ways of modifying the lights so that they are more beneficial depending on the time of the day. But also for individuals, you can have filters on your screen. You can block the blue light with blue light blocking eyeglasses. So take care of that and be proactive before it starts harming you. I know that we all sit in front of computers every day right now, especially, and I personally use those glasses and have noticed a huge difference between my sleep quality because of them. And then movement, I mentioned it already. It is our responsibility to make sure that the people are moving. Not everyone wants to be the marathon runner or go to the gym every day. But what we want to have is breaks. We want people to take breaks for their brains and breaks for their bodies to move, so that the brain has the time to actually refresh themselves. And that could be just creating processes or having apps in your mobile phone to notify you that now it's time to take a break. And that has to be also a culture that you allow people to do. It's not just a break when it's lunch, but it's a break because you need just 1 minute to refresh in your brain. So people usually can focus maybe between 20 to 25 minutes really well. And optimally, you would have a break, maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes after that, and then you continue. And if you actually also stand up when you're doing that and taking the break, you are giving yourself much better boost. So there are small things that can make a huge difference, but your culture in your company needs to support those changes as well. Noise is one of the big issues that is under constant debate as well. Open offices. Some people say, I want to be in an open office because that's the only way I can get creative and I can talk to people. And some people say, I can't handle that noise. So how do we deal with that? Of course, now we also have these kind of booths that you can have. You can have silent rooms and so on. You can have these kind of headsets on. But it's also, once again, very important that you know what the people need who are in your team. You need to be able to have those dialogues to get the feedback so that you can accommodate as much as you can in the office space that you have. Because noise can really become a huge stressor for some people. And we can see that when we're looking at data and when we have people in the open office environment, and then we have someone who really gets disturbed by that, actually be sitting in another room for a full day, and the stress levels are very different. So once again, data can help us to detect these kind of stressors. Future trends. What I want to see and what we are going to see is that we're going to be moving much more from this kind of a managing stress, being reactive, towards leading stress, towards being in control, both in company level, team level, and on personal level. We want to be able to use wearables, tech, leading with data. That is our future, because that will help us to secure wellness and health, and also secure the fact that we can have resiliency, we can have efficiency and productivity, and not just have efficiency and productivity and high performance without resilience. And this will enable the redesigning of high performance cultures. So we're going to be seeing a much more proactive approach to wellness on corporate levels and individual levels, and hopefully globally a much more proactive way of actually doing healthcare. And that's a bigger thing, and we're not going to go into that today. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there and open up for questions and answers if there are some.
Yeah, fantastic. No, it's really interesting, especially for me, as some people know if they were in one of my other tracks. I actually studied psychology at university a long time ago. Wow. So this sort of stuff's fascinating to me. We often find that the questions warm up in a bit. So in the meantime, we've only got a couple of minutes, but sure. I thought I'd throw in a question I've got, which I think is kind of interesting right now, is obviously managing stress and everything is important, not just for, the well-being of the staff, but also for the company ethos and everything really. But do you think that monitoring and managing that has become all the more challenging right now, given what's going on in the world? Not just because there's obviously a range of external factors independent of work, but also because we're all working remotely and it's much harder to make sure that everyone's well.
Indeed. Yeah. I talk about this a lot with my clients, who are most of them managers. And yes, checking in and doing these kind of virtual coffee breaks, it's much more needed now than it's ever been. And all of them say that it's much more difficult to sense, especially if you wouldn't have the video. And I've said to everyone, you have to keep the videos on when you're talking to your team members at least once a week, because just not seeing each other in several months and just going by what you're hearing, you can't really sense what's going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got a question from the audience, which is, you mentioned open plan offices. Do you think that the move to be open and connected in an office space will be killed off by COVID?
I think what we're going to be seeing is that people are going to continue working more from home, and we might have more of like common meeting places at the office that we gather to do something or to discuss or brainstorm for a reason, and not just let's all go there because we have to be there Monday to Friday, 8 to 6 or whatever. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Yes. Oh, wait, actually, we'll sneak in one final question. Right. Which is, thanks, Dash says, thanks for such an insightful session. What's your take on meditation? Should one incorporate and motivate employees to try it to reduce stress?
Well, great question. Personally, a big fan. I know that a lot of people are also, they don't feel comfortable with meditation. Unless you personally want to embark the journey, I don't think people should be pushed to do that. On the contrary, I would say, use breathing exercises that's much more sort of tolerable and easy to accept for people who might be against meditation or think it's just a fluffy thing. But breathing exercise is just easy. 4 breaths in, hold for 4 breaths out, hold for 4 seconds. So that could be a very easy way to do together with your team, for instance, and get more fresh air and focus.
Yeah, and it seems you've got someone who's in agreement as well, which is our boss, the managing director of Steel Media, who says Steel Media has been a distributed business for 15 years, so we can testify it works, but a mix of homework and short time in the office seems perfect, which I can attest to, because even though it's not an office, when we all get together on trips and travel, when we're putting on our physical Pocket Game Connect shows, that's like our office time and brings us all together.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds great.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for giving such a fascinating talk, and yeah, some really actionable things for the audience. Thank you so much.
Great. Good to hear. Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was great.
Thank you. And enjoy the weather in Stockholm as well.
Thanks. Have a great weekend.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks. Bye-bye.